I don't know, fuzzy stuff. But it was, I reached down and I was thinking it was like a lint kind of situation. And it was wet. So it was a snow kind of situation. I thought it was lint, so it was like, it's like drinking milk when you think it's something else. Like you think it's water or something, or even worse. I've done way worse than that, but I ain't gonna talk about that on my channel. I have a hard enough with audience retention. I don't retain audience. People dip their toe on my tiny tube and then they say nope. Nope, not for me. I need to get something to wet my whistle. Is there anything you need before I start talking?
No, that I can think of.
Once I get going, who knows?
I don't know, just a little piece of toast.
You want a little bagel and cream cheese?
Yeah, a little.
I got these mini things, so we eat like giants.
Okay.
I like tiny things. It makes me feel big. It satisfies. It's my Napoleon complex. People think that's funny that girls don't get Napoleon. Oh, that's cute. Like only Napoleon, the spirit of Napoleon haunts the men, the little tiny short men. Nope. You know how that took some sorting out of my psyche to determine that a lot of my frustrations come from my Napoleon complex. Oh, I'm being too loud here. Is it too crunchy? There's your little bagel. All right. They're sound asleep. All right. I need to get something to drink, and then I'm going to start talking to myself.
They're all lined up.
I'll talk to you and the dogs. There's always an audience here. Oh, Benno, you good boy, Benny. Want me to turn on the fan? I gotta turn on the fan for him. They get hotter than us because they naturally run 100 degrees. We're 98 degrees. They're 100, 101 natural. So they run hotter.
Oh, boy.
So do I. That's how I can relate. That's how I can understand I can recognize the importance of keeping them cool. Plus, he had surgery yesterday. Had 2 teeth pulled. They offered to let me have the teeth, and I think if it was any moon besides a Virgo moon, because Virgos don't. As I understand it, they don't really like gross, creepy things. So I was like, no, that's cool. I'll pass. I don't know. Whoa, my hair is so big today. Hello, hi. Welcome to my tube. My name's Marge. I'm a Heelk empath. I just like having these little talks on the way I feel about things. I found one of my old t-shirts. I got this initially back in like the 2000s, early 2000s when I was in the Air Force. I got it as a bumper sticker. It says, Lord, please help me be the person my dog thinks I am.
Oh, that's neat.
The secret's out now, man. All my dogs are old. They know who I am, huh? Good boy. Kissy, kissy. Kissy, kissy. They said, yes, we love you in spite of you. Alrighty. So, I thought I'd do a talk this morning because it was like dark. And since I decided I was going to do the talk, it lightened up. We got a little snow here this morning in northern New Mexico. It's all kind of dripping off. That kind of surprised me. I didn't sleep real good last night. Benny was squirmy and Tucker was he was a little extra needy also. So my evening was spent petting dogs with both hands until they fell asleep, and then I'd stop. And then Tucker's the guy that he'll hit your hand and tell you, "Hey, pet me,
get your attention.
Pet me." So anyway, I had some thoughts this morning. One of the points of my tube is I like to share things that I wish I would have known when I was like a teenager, like 16 to 19, 20 years old. You know, if I would have known these things then, because I listened to people ahead of me. I listened to those people that like it's like, I always recognize that they could learn from their mistakes. You know what I mean? It's like they try this, that, and the other thing, and but they'd learn from their mistakes. And they were the ones that would be like, dude, you know, when you hit too close to home with your buddy, you know, you get to clowning around, you screw around, but there's a line that's crossed. You know, dude, I'm sorry, you know, because sometimes people, many a truth is said and just. So, I like to share, and one of those things that I wish I would have known when I was younger, that people would have said more, is that every person that I've ever been in love with, that it didn't work out with, today, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for every failed relationship I've ever had. And people get so caught up, you know, especially young people, they find that person, they're, you know, and then they latch on, you know, mostly because it's about chasing sensations, because they find their inner course. So, and then they're driven the rest of their life by that inner course, you know, chasing sensations is what I call it. So, and then they have that failed relationship. I don't want, you know, suicide rates are going up like crazy now. Everybody's just like, it's like they don't want, they get stuck in a feeling, which I equate as a vibrational frequency, and they can't ever imagine getting out of that frequency, and that's just how they're going to feel every day, every moment, every day, from here on out until their last breath. So then they, you know, they can't think in terms like that. So they just end it, you know, and I don't want to see that happen. Life is so short and it's so fragile, and it's just, there's so much to be enjoyed, you know. Yeah, it's hard, it's shitty, and it's sucky a lot of times, more often I think than not. Oftentimes you get those little golden eggs that just kind of make everything work, make all that hard stuff worth it, you know. So I made a couple notes, things I wanted to talk about. Why I do what I do. Mom moved to live with me in 2008. I believe it's 2008, but it's been about the last, 10 years or so. She hasn't known what day it is, and she's got recall from like years ago, you know, and I mean, she knows who I am. One time she saw a picture of my brother and was like, who was that? But we don't, I mean, that's anybody who does it. I mean, because people are changing, you know, people change all the time. Every day they're changing. And it's hard to keep track because there's so many people that are freaking doing face augmentations that it's like, I get why that storyline about clones is so prominent, you know, because people don't look the same. Anyway, I even had braces before. My teeth used to be all jacked up. I smile a lot more now than I used to. Yeah, cost me $4,000. I better. Freaking, it's a waste of money, not. Anyway, so one thing I learned when I was little, I paid real close attention to the people that are older than me, and I watch how adults acted and stuff like that, you know. And I came to the realization a really, really long time ago that regret isn't as instant as karma. And to reiterate on that, what I mean by that is that you hear all these stories, they post them all over social media, you know, you hear all, you know, all these, like, you know, famous people that, you know, at the end of their life, it's like, what do you want to tell people, you know, to pass on, kind of thing. And they talk about their regrets. Well, I don't live in a way that I have regrets. And it's a hard balance to find. It's a tricky place to be. 'Cause that doesn't mean going around living your life how you want to live it all the time. Because sometimes, I mean, if people are truly living in any kind of capacity of service, like so many on the planet claim that they are, they're going to need to be inconvenienced. So that ain't living your best life all the time. I am really waiting to hear more stories about how people are inconveniencing themselves to help others. I have yet to hear those stories. I'll keep waiting. The Great Awakening. My sweet ass. So, Mom had a stroke when she was 38. Dude slammed her head in a car door of a 64 Chevy Biscayne. And she was always real physical, you know. She was always real, like she walked everywhere. And she walked because she was born with 2 club feet. And she didn't gain that ability. She had to work a lot harder than other people did to just get that right to walk. Because she took her first steps with casts that were up past her knees. You know, so those were her first steps, you know. So she had to work harder. So I come from a very strong, determined woman with 5 planets in Sagittarius. So my fire's passed on. It's not passed down, it's passed on. And that's why I burn so bright, because I have my whole lineage to speak for. Anyway. So I've heard a lot of people talk about the regrets that they had in their life, you know, and a lot of that is like, oh, you know, I wish I would have hung out with my family more. I wish I wouldn't have spent so many hours, because they don't think about all those deals and all their pay stubs and balances, you know, when they're at the end of their life and nobody's gathered around them because they weren't there in the beginning for for their kids and whatnot. But they had all this stuff that they don't need. But, you know, people come to a point, something you don't get back, and something pretty significant is time. So when Mom had her stroke, and she was like, you know, she didn't go to no rehab facility. She came home. I'm lucky I didn't end up in a foster home, and nobody's parents would take me in. Yeah, I'm one of those kids. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So, so you know, everybody's like so, their hearts are so full and open for all these demographics that I've been in my life, only for society to turn its back on me. And it's done me the biggest favor, because there really isn't anything that I can't do that I don't want to do. Anyway, so She was real concerned about ever being put in a home, like adamantly concerned, like, you know, and which I can understand, because she was taken away from her family when she was young and put into an orphanage, and because, you know, first they create a system, the medical system, because we're Native American, man. She's born in New Mexico, I'm sure of it. You know? So then they make this system. The man make the system, right? And then say, you don't fall into this category. You don't fit the criteria because you can't pay for our system. So we're going to take your child, you know? Because they couldn't pay for all of her surgeries and her tendon replacements that it would take in order to, you know, help her to walk again. So they took her away, you know, to put her into the system. And then they said, hey, we're saving this girl, so we need all this money for our system, right? Would have been better for her if they would have just gave her family money so they could have fixed her and left her in her own home. You know, our lives would have been much different. But it's not what we signed up for. But they create the system, and then if people don't support the system, the people are the criminal. Isn't that weird, what America has done? Right in front of everybody's faces. Not mine. I've been talking against it my whole life, but people just have been turning their back on me and what I have to say, because evidently they like the cheater way better. So, she was real adamant she didn't want to go live in a home in a facility, which is understandable. Hell, she started the first 3 years of her life in an orphanage. I can understand why she wouldn't want to go back into a system where they don't care about the people. They like getting paid to say we care. It's what the system does. And then you got so many people that like getting paid to do next to nothing. And now we are watching the whole system dissolve. Because you don't have the worker bees that are complaining about all the ways and all the things that are wrong with the system. They just weeded all those people out. They just hired all the yes people. And the yes people are really fucking lazy. So here we are with society. And what we get. Because we all have a hand in it. Anyway. So when I promised when I was a 15-year-old girl, Mom was 38, that I would never put her in a home, I was like, okay, great. I better get a good job. That's when I went on my trajectory of, I had to lose weight to get into the Air Force. I had to work so hard to, I'm autistic. I had to freaking jump all these hurdles as I look around and watch people just give up. No, that's too hard. I'm not going to do it. It's not, and I couldn't, because it's not me anymore. And I even went down that trajectory of being a drunk, because I was like, I've always had to live for, I want to live for me. I just do it, everything. Self-will run riot. That's not what God intended. That is not how we are supposed to be living this incarnation. There's a lot of mofos out there doing it wrong. A lot of parents that failed. Unless, of course, you taught all these people in society have taught their children how to be a decent human being and not lie, not cheat, not steal, and then of and by themselves, the individual just decided that's how they're going to conduct their lives. Right? That's how it happens, right? Every time. Every time, like clockwork. So, I was just watching an episode of a TV show called The Conners. And I don't want to get too far off on a tangent. I boycotted it for a long time. I've tracked that show from when I remember when they did the pilot. And she was on like a sound stage. And they brought that couch up to the sound stage. And they did like a live audience try. And people, because it was different. You hit mainstream, the show did. Which, it was a cutting edge show. Right? When I was in high school is when it first came out. I love that show. Every year, the Halloween episode. Anyway, they fired her from her own show. Ultimately, is what they had. She got robbed. But whatever, that's her path, not mine. And there's an episode on it today where Jackie's mother, she's like 94 or 96, something like that. And she's coming to a point in her life, and she's having trouble with her memory. I'm like, okay, I can that's one of the reasons, because there's things in the show that I can identify with, and then it gives me stuff to talk about on my time to tube. So she's got memory trouble, and everybody has an origin story, right? My origin story is crazy. If I think about every single collective thing, all the things that have happened in my near 49 years on this planet, and I could still have a smile on my face, then what the hell is everybody else's problem that hasn't been through these freaking, weird stuff? What's wrong with you? I say that in a very general way. So, There's an episode that she had a caregiver. Now, see, I have faith in God. I don't have a whole lot of faith in people to allow or even acknowledge God to work through them. So I'm real careful about who Mom hangs out with. Mom likes it that way. She's real sensitive, right? So she gets around dark people. It don't, so if I probably put Mom in a bubble to take her out. We have more faith than that, That's just my first inclination. Safety first, Ma, right? She's a neat lady. I want to keep her around as long as I can. So, Jackie, against her heart's desire, gets her mom a caregiver, right? Because she's just, she can't be left alone. I'm glad Mom's not a wanderer yet. Because there's a lot of people to contend with. And my mom's she's 72 now, but we got that generation, she's in that boomer generation, and we're coming up on this place and they're everywhere, all over town, we got to learn how to take care of them better, give them what they need more. What about a reversed Uber? About someone to ride along with them, or something, to give them their dignity and the freedom. How many senior citizens don't even want to drive anymore? But they have to. They don't have a choice. They got to go get medication. They got to get the medication for for their family, stuff like that. We need to make society more accommodating to the basic people, not the rich people, man. They're fine. They're gonna freaking ego themselves out. They'll spin themselves out. But us people on the earthly plane, gotta do better, man. In New Mexico, the elders, the adults, you gotta take the spoon, put it down. Take the spoon out of your mouth, put it down. Don't care about red or green freaking chilies. Don't freaking matter. Go for a walk. Show the young people the importance of moving. And don't just stroll, Don't just work off your tortillas. I live in New Mexico. I am Mexican too. I am speaking about me. So go work off your tortillas and your chilies and your burgers and your fries and all of those feelings that you do not want to recognize. And show the people. People gotta learn how to be a better example, man. We got shitty example. All these false for profits. Aren't we coming up on that satanic ritual known as Super Ball Sunday? They all suck ball sack, man. Every single one. You sign a contract where you designate, I'm gonna behave this certain way. I'm gonna do these things even if I don't want to. You don't have your control over your own life. And that's how Satan would have it. So who is for Satan? And who's for God? World War III is of the spiritual variety, kids. Ladies, gentlemen, folks of all ages. Where are people pointing their spirit? Directing it to do what in their soul sack? Make more money to put in the bank and do jack shit for nobody, but hey, they don't need Viagra because they think, I got so much money it makes me a man. Ultimately, that thinking goes away. They all end up needing Viagra. Male enhancement drugs? Who needs to emasculate men? They do it themselves. Someone explain to me this. Every photo taken in the last how many years, based by men of all ages, they stand like this. This is how they stand. How masculine is that? They emasculate. Where did this posture come from? For men in group photo, look at old photo. People are standing with their hands hanging, and all of a sudden there's a switch. They're all just do what you're told. Just do what you're told. Anyway, I digress. So, Bev, there's a circumstance that the caregiver at the end of she's staying with Bev for a week, and then because she's like $300 a day, but she's a real good caregiver, right, Ma? And she like takes her blood pressure and stuff like that. We need to be doing that stuff with you. I need to get a blood pressure cuff and monitoring your stats, right? I do a pretty good job about monitoring. I'm like, we get out the figs if she hasn't pooped in a couple days. Oh, Ma. Yeah, so anyway, but Fig Newtons. So Bev was bothered about her arm, and the caregiver said that she said, you talked to her about it, she won't talk to me about it. She gets upset, right? It's probably related to an old injury. And I talk about that on my channel a lot here, is that every old injury you have, you will be reminded with the temperature variances if you get to live to be older. You'll feel it, and you'll be constantly reminded of it. If you did something like screwing around, you're always... Yeah, like jumping on the bed. How many people have like broken arm jumping on the bed, fall off the bed, break an arm? How many same people have done that? Then you learn. Maybe you don't learn to not jump on the bed anymore. You probably learn to pay attention to your surroundings, where the edge is. So you learn something. People just don't have the capacity to even learn anymore. Just do what they're told. Do what they're told. Do what they're told. That's hot. That's gonna help with procreation. Might as well do a parrot. Don't. There's people on this planet that probably do. Pervs. So Jackie starts talking to her mom, and she starts understanding. Because she went to she finds, that's when you went to the hospital. That's when we moved in with Grandma. And she said, we did that because Dad hit you. See? And then recall comes back later too. Right? Right? People put you put the adult mind on your child's situation. Well, I had such a wild childhood growing up that I had an adult mind. My balance with the spirit of my child, and I've still encompassed both of those in a remix. So we're gonna see more people doing that, not just because it's scripted. It's scripted because it's kind of preventive. That's how, the earth is a trip, man. Life is such a trip. It's such a beautiful trip. The way it unfolds, if people have the eyes to see. So, I looked at Mom. I just started crying. I said, Ma, I said, if I ever have done anything to make you feel otherwise validated as a human being, I'm sorry. And I just gave her a big old hug and stuff like that, because it always comes back to that. People want to be seen. They want to be validated, and for years, like, Jackie hated her mom from all this stuff, but she kept the mind of her child, And I see my brother do that. He still looks at, mad. I decided when I was a child I wouldn't help Mom when I grew up. Still stuck in the mind of a child. Tells people how they're stuck in the past. When you point at people and talk about how they are, there's 1, 2, 3 pointing back at you. You spot what you got. I can't tell you how often I'm talking trash about people, hearing how I'm talking trash about me. Anyway, so why I do what I do is I will never at any point in my life regret any of the time that me and Mom and I have spent together. The stress to keep us together has been inordinate. It has been insane, and it's been documented to the best of my ability on this channel for the last 2,000 talks. You know, everybody talks about how it is and important it is family, you know, unless they're not me and Mom, right? Because it's a trip, man. My story, this adventure is a trip. Anyway, I better quick talk about lice. I was thinking about this. I'm gonna wrap it up because I'm already at the 30-minute mark. I felt like those other things were important to touch on too. When I was a little girl, I had lice a couple times, you know. And we were already really poor. We already, like, our clothes weren't, like, Mom did a really good job of keeping our clothes and stuff, you know. But, like, I wanted to wear boy clothes. She didn't want me to wear boy clothes. So there was a point of contention with the wardrobe and stuff. And she, I don't know. But she would, like, do our laundry in the bathtub if we couldn't make it to the laundromat. Because we didn't have washers and dryers and stuff for a lot of years. And had to walk a lot of miles, you know, to stay clean, you know. And then we got to be a certain age. And then we if you want your clothes clean, go wash them in the tub and hang them out. You know, do it yourself. So I became very self-sufficient at a very young age. And oftentimes I really needed help, but there weren't people around to care to help or want to help, so I just learned how to do everything I possibly could so I wouldn't have to rely on other people. So the way people treated me, you know, you have the nurse that comes in, all right, you know, it's like they already know who it is, but, you know, I guess it softens the blow. But you would be surprised how many lines I've been pulled out of and just made an example of life. And that, you know, the kid with lice, right? And just all the freaking trash. You just got to let people talk trash because, you know, you're the kid with lice. So take it, right? I learned a long time ago, Mom taught me that you got to let stuff go. You can't hang on to that stuff. But Mom, it hurts my feelings and then it makes me angry. Because I can't get mad because they're right. You know? And it's just the thing. People get bugs in their hair. There's a show on it. That's what made me think about all this. Well, what happens is you get people of a certain persuasion. Because we're all like cupcakes, you know, with planetary energies as our ingredients, right? People choose where they're going to sit, how much of that they're going to put into themselves, you know? They're going to live for more from that spirit, or are you going to live from that shady side, that shadow side, you know? Whatever gets you more shit that you can't take with you, right? So people of and there is a point to this. Because you got people of certain personalities, either, you know, people are going to pick up this anger and they're going to carry it with them in their soul sack of life. And then they're going to start thinking, and they're not going to focus on their life how it is now. They're constantly going to think about all the times that they've been hurt, all the times they've been wronged, you know, of where their life has gone wrong their whole entire life, and they just carry it with them. And it weighs heavy. And then something happens in life. And then they're pulled from all of their years of being treated like crap into an instance where they're again being rejected. And then they hit that situation like a ton of bricks, because that ton equally matches the level of pain and hurt that they've gone through in their lives. So hurt matches hurt, you know, calamity matches, you know. Because people don't know how to just turn it off and just be like, I'm going to let it go. I'm just going to, you got me today. I'm just going to let you and just be bygones. And I'm not going to carry this with me because I don't want to have to eat a cake later to make me feel better. Cause every time I think about this situation that makes me feel bad. Because I'm going to let you win this one time to know that that's how you do. And then I ain't going to deal with you no more. So people get to cheat me one time. And a lot of people have taken me up on that, but then we don't got to deal no more. So you got these people, and then they don't learn how to let stuff go, and then they turn into the people like that dude that killed all those 4 people. I saw an article about him today. I don't say his name on my tube. I ain't giving that dude. He don't get no light. You don't get no limelight shot from my mouth. No, he's just another D-bag that didn't learn to control himself. Got hurt because the girls didn't want your wiener. And they didn't want your wiener for 28 years. And it made you so mad that that's what you allowed, that he allowed himself to escalate to. And I see all these people in society. And a lot of them, they wear their big puffy coats. People that can't control. It's like a pattern. It's like a progression of behavior. I've been studying people and how they treat other people my whole life, and I can feel it because I've been around the dark of the dark. So all those people that treated the little weird kid that had lice, think about all the kids that grew up. Where are they now? And how have they learned? So if you're wondering who the people that are going to frickin' snap and go crazy, what are people doing with what they got?